City councillor proposes ownership limits on cats and dogs. City police concerned about meth drugs. And food trucks are popping up around the city. Good evening and thank you for joining us. Well, we've all heard stories of the so-called cat lady who has 50 felines in her house, or the person with 10 or more dogs.
And it may come as a surprise to some that in Thunder Bay, that's completely legal. Many municipalities have a bylaw in place that limits the number of pets a person can have in their household or apartment. As Dennis Ward reports, no such bylaw currently exists here, but one could be in the works.
Thunder Bay over the years has had its share of horror stories involving the hoarding of animals, including several cases where dozens of cats were removed from local residences by the Humane Society. While these are extreme cases, Councillor Aldo Roberto says it's increasingly becoming a problem.
There's been hoarding issues where people are starting to hoard not only products and material things, but also animals. And we are very concerned for the animals, the individual, and the neighbors. There's issues, there's been situations in our city in apartments where people have 10 cats and dogs.
Roberto is asking city staff to look at bylaws other communities have in place to limit the number of cats and dogs kept in homes and apartments. There was some surprise at a local dog park that no limits currently exist.
I think it's a good idea because a lot of people get carried away and have too many of them, and then the pets suffer. And, you know, usually you hear of very unsafe and unhealthy conditions for both the pet and the owner.
If someone has the accommodations to, say, foster or have a certain number of dogs, and they can do it appropriately without damaging or risking the health of the animals, then that should be fine. But if, say, someone has 10 dogs in an apartment, I feel that that's ridiculous and it shouldn't be allowed.
2 or 3 dogs, 2 dogs a household. I think any more than 2 dogs is a little bit much.
Bylaws in other communities can vary quite a bit. In Oshawa, a person can have 3 dogs and 6 cats. Kenora limits pet owners to 2 cats and 2 dogs. Roberto is calling for a report back on the issue by the end of the year. Dennis Ward, TBT News.
A small fire on the roof of Northwood Park Plaza last night caused minimal damage, but one firefighter was injured. Fire crews were called to the mall just after 7:45 yesterday evening. The fire was contained on the roof line near the Dollarama store. The investigation revealed that a roofing contractor was doing repairs earlier in the day and a blowtorch was the probable source of ignition. 5 pumpers attended the scene. The firefighter was hurt after reportedly falling off a ladder. He was taken to the hospital with minor injuries and has been released.
Earlier this week, Thunder Bay police arrested 2 men after a search of their homes revealed a cache of drugs and money. Police also recovered a stolen handgun, but what was most concerning to officers was the recovery of more than 500 methamphetamine pills. It may not be the first time that methamphetamines have shown up in Thunder Bay, but police say they're certainly uncommon. There's no evidence to confirm whether or not the drugs were manufactured in the city. Police also say there are currently no known meth labs in Thunder Bay. But note, it's concerning to see this type of drug appearing at street level.
While we maybe have had some indication that that drug has existed in the past, to actually see a quantity like this of over 500 pills is a concern. It's a very dangerous process by which these drugs are actually put together.
Adams says both men that were arrested were known to police.
Thunder Bay home builders continue to have a busy construction season. The latest stats from Canada Mortgage and Housing show 2013 is looking to be another banner year. During the month of July, there were 37 single-detached housing starts around the city. That's the same number as we saw in June and 9 more than in July of 2012. There was also 1 duplex started last month. For the year to date, there have been 103 single-family homes started and 64 multi-unit starts for a total of 167. That's 38 more than at the same point last year. Officials with the CMHC say we're on pace to exceed 200 single-detached home starts for the 2nd year in a row.
Well, they're commonplace in a lot of Canadian cities, and now they're starting to emerge here in Thunder Bay. Since just last week, 3 mobile food trucks have begun operating in the city, and more are on the way. Nate Jones went to talk to these new entrepreneurs.
No longer do city residents need to go inside to order some lunch. The food truck craze has hit Thunder Bay. With a name based out of a famous Dr. Seuss book, Cindy Lou Who's is taking a bite out of the food industry. At Lou Who's, you'll find comforting favorites such as pulled pork sandwiches and the Chipotle chicken. Owner and former accountant Chandra Tomisto says this was a welcome change from her last job.
Tired of being tied to a chair and tired of working for the man, and this is what I love to do, and it makes me feel good to see other people enjoy what I cook for them, and this is a lot more rewarding, and I don't want to do my own books.
Tomisto has been in business for just over a week now, and so far her truck has been well received. Down at Marina Park, people are going Dutch. Since early last week, the mobile Dutch eatery has been serving up snack foods to marina goers. Savory croquettes and smoked sausages grace this menu, but what seems to be popular are the poffages. Here in Canada, we call them something else.
In North America, we consider pancakes to be a breakfast item. Not so in Holland, and like I say, it's eaten any time of the day, especially at special events, at going to the market, fairs, things like that. Very popular.
Also taking a bite out of the food industry is the local Motion Truck, which is operated by Pine Tree Catering. They launched their food truck just last Wednesday. And starting next week, Gallo Restaurant on Red River Road will also be hitting the streets to bring their Portuguese eats to the public. All of the owners of these businesses are utilizing Facebook and other social media to spread the word and let people know where they'll pop up next. Nate Jones, TBT News.
Well, if you've passed by Cook Street just off of Court over the past week, you've probably already seen it. And if you haven't been by yet, you should really check it out. It's Thunder Bay's newest graffiti wall, and it's quite impressive. Definitely Superior Art Gallery's Die Active Art Collective and participating downtown businesses. They hope to catch some eyes with the new art project. DESUP's Laura Northway says they typically seek out walls that might otherwise be a target for vandalism and transform them into something beautiful. The artists have been working on the mural for just over a week, but Northway hopes the project takes on a life of its own in the coming years, as long as area businesses are on board.
Think of it as Thunder Bay's kind of up-and-coming graffiti alley, so I'd like this to be kind of an attraction for graffiti artists from outside of the city. So hoping to invite new artists each year to develop and change the wall, as is the nature of graffiti art.
You're in Vancouver or Toronto and you see like big graffiti walls all the time, and like whenever I walk past them, it makes me so happy. Even if it's just down an alleyway, it makes me feel like there's a lot more life and culture and things happening in the city.
This newest project is one of more than 20 Die-Active murals now located throughout the city. Northway believes they're helping to change the public's perception of graffiti art while showcasing the hard work of some talented artists.
Well, it's not the only women's 5-kilometer race in Thunder Bay, but it's certainly the only one like this. Tomorrow morning marks the first ever Dirty Girls Thunder Bay Mud Race, and already the event is generating a buzz in the city. 750 women, making up 150 teams, have signed on to participate in the unique event, raising more than $125,000 and counting for the local Cancer Society. The 5-kilometer course includes 16 military-type obstacles, including a wall climb, mud pit, hay bales, a grease pole, basically anything to get the participants dirty and muddy, says organizer Charlotte Brown.
And the fact that we don't have one close by here, I think that was the hype. And we live in Thunder Bay in northwestern Ontario. I mean, we are country people, a lot of us, and we love the mud and we love being outdoors. That's just the way Thunder Bay is. So, and who doesn't want to be a dirty girl?
Start times are staggered throughout the morning and afternoon. The race begins at 10 a.m. at this old barn in Murillo. Due to the enormous popularity of the event, Brown is already toying with the idea of expanding the race and opening it up to men next year.
Officials with Thunder Bay's Recreation Division say the cooler summer weather has been affecting attendance at outdoor splash pads and pools, and the new attraction at Marina Park has also seen a significant decrease. Today at the Prince Arthur Landing splash pad, there was hardly a soul to be seen. Clouds and cool winds kept most families away. The operations coordinator for Marina Park says attendance has been cut in half compared to the previous year. Only 12,000 people have made their way to the water park, while last year saw roughly 30,000. But thanks to some help from the Skateboard Coalition, the Marina Skate Park has more than doubled its numbers.
So we have over 8,000 people, kids that we've counted, or people that we've counted down here at the Skateboard Plaza this year. So there's lots of activity happening there, not much in the water. So at least there's something else for people to do of all ages. Like I said, the Skateboard Coalition's been down here doing a fabulous job.
Although there are no official numbers, the city aquatic supervisor says attendance at the 3 outdoor pools is down 20% this year due to the cooler temperatures and the large amount of rainfall. The pools will remain open until summer begins next month. The Marina Park splash pad is to stay open until September 15th, unless, of course, it starts snowing before then. Let's hope not.
Yeah, the way our summer's gone, however, though, that's not out of the realm of possibility, I suppose.
Yeah,
well, turning to weather, Matt Scooby, it's Mr. Sports turning into Mr. Weather today. No one might have went to the splash pad today, but tonight that could be good news for the Border Cats at Port Arthur Stadium. With the windy conditions, they could have a hard time keeping the ball in the old ballpark tonight.
Yeah, no kidding, and that would be good for them. Hopefully it's not going to start snowing, but again, you never know at this rate. It was interesting today. We did hit a high today of 20, but Environment Canada released their monthly overview of what happened last month. Thunder Bay actually set the coldest daytime highs on July 26th, 27th, and 28th, so we set a record on those days, which is pretty wild. But it was 20 degrees. Keeping things cool today was that wind, gusting up to 38 kilometers an hour coming out of the northwest. So that's what kept things cool today for the most part. Having a look, as Randy just mentioned, tonight, the Woodchucks of Wisconsin are in town to wrap up their 2-game series tonight at Port Arthur Stadium. 17 degrees, mostly sunny skies, but as Randy mentioned as well, that wind is going to persist this evening, gusting up to 27 kilometers an hour, which will cause, again, hopefully the ball will stay in the ballpark for the Border Cats. They struggled with their pitching, but we'll see what happens tonight. But bring a jacket. It's going to get cool. That temperature is going to drop be 13, maybe around the 10-degree mark by the end of the game tonight. Having a look across the region right now, mostly cloudy skies to the west as you have a look at Kenora, 17 degrees, mostly west, but again, they are under mostly cloudy skies at this point. Armstrong, 15. Greenstone, as you have a look at Greenstone, 16 degrees right now. Sault Ste. Marie at 17 degrees, sunny skies. The North Shore, seeing some beautiful temperatures, but those are going to drop down later tonight. As we have a look at this evening's forecast for Thunder Bay, 7 degrees is our low for tonight. Going to be mostly clear skies, so that cloud cover that you saw for most of the day today going to dissipate and be mostly clear, but it is going to be chilly. That wind, again, staying up around 27 kilometers an hour, but it is going to taper off come about midnight. So again, be good sleeping conditions for later tonight. Having a look at Saturdays, you see that high pressure system. That's what's going to keep things, no precipitation in the forecast, which is good for tomorrow. That's going to slowly move out, but this is going to be cool temperatures. And as you have a look at early next week, as you see the jet stream, we're in that pocket. We're in the pocket of cool air right now. That's what's going to keep those temperatures down for the next few days as well. But I will have more details coming up about that later in the news hour.
Thanks, Matt. Well, it looks like Canada's unemployment rate is rising. We have more on that story for you as your Friday News Hour continues.
Some more part-time jobs are being created. Also, we lose well-paid jobs, and we're creating jobs with lower than average income.
The latest numbers show Canada lost jobs in July, pushing the unemployment rate up 0.1%.
Locally, our jobless rate was pegged at 6%, down slightly from the 6.1 recorded in June. As Catherine Cullen reports, our young people especially had a tough time finding work this summer.
Good coffee isn't the only perk of Anna Rogers' job as a barista. She knows she's luckier than some of her university classmates when it comes to finding employment.
Good money and good working with good people and a good employer. Like, those are the three main things.
The latest numbers show that in July, fewer young people were hired than last year. Also hurting the public sector, which lost many thousands of jobs. In the economy as a whole, Statistics Canada says 39,000 jobs were lost, pushing the unemployment rate up 0.1% to 7.2. The numbers are worse than many predicted, but economists caution against putting too much emphasis on 1 month, instead looking at the broader trend.
It's bumpy, but I do think it's still healthy, so I wouldn't be too discouraged by this 1 month.
In fact, the unemployment rate is almost exactly where it was at this time last year. Still, economist Sébastien Lavoie says he's concerned about the rate of job creation and about the quality of those jobs.
There's more part-time jobs that are being created. Also, we lose well-paid jobs, and we're creating jobs with a lower than average income.
A reality not lost on Anna Rogers.
For the most part, like, you can find a job. Finding a good job is really the trick.
Catherine Cullen, CBC News, Montreal.
Wildlife officials in New Brunswick spent the day removing dozens of animals from an exotic pet store in Campbellton. Earlier this week, 2 young brothers died in the apartment above the store when a python escaped its enclosure and asphyxiated them. As Bridget Noel reports from Campbellton, some of the animals are destined for zoos, others were not so fortunate.
27 creatures were removed from Reptile Ocean today, including an anaconda, some sulcata tortoises, some dwarf crocodiles, as well as other snakes and lizards not permitted in New Brunswick. The job of removing and relocating these animals proved to be a challenge. Wildlife officials were forced to make a difficult decision.
We were not able to find suitable accommodations for the American alligators anywhere in Canada. We've been trying all this week, and we've tried this morning, even up till now, but have not been able to find suitable accommodations. So those 4 animals will be euthanized.
The 4 alligators were given a lethal injection. Their bodies were carted off on stretchers and will be disposed of by the Department of Natural Resources. Now hundreds of animals remain inside the building legally, and as crews pull back, owner Jean-Claude Savoie is set to regain possession of his business. Now the RCMP hasn't been able to tell us what happens next, but they do say their criminal investigation is ongoing. Reptile experts were pleased with the way the animals were cared for in the days following the tragedy.
The government did an amazing job of having the animals cared for by the original staff.
City officials say this is the end of one chapter of the tragedy. But for a community in shock, this story is far from over. Tomorrow, a funeral will take place for Noah and Connor Barth. Bridget Noel, CBC News, Campbellton.
The parents of Rtea Parsons say charges laid in her case are bittersweet. The 17-year-old died in April after attempting suicide. Her parents said she told them she had been sexually assaulted 2 years ago and harassed after a photo of the alleged assault was circulated on social media. Yesterday, 2 teens were charged with making and distributing child pornography. Carolyn Ray has more.
With people around the world watching, Halifax police announced the charges late last night. 2 18-year-olds, one accused of distributing child pornography, the other with making and distributing child porn.
I can tell you that we hope that today's arrests help the entire community to heal.
Rtea Parsons' story has largely played out as trial by social media. Today, that continued with opinions flooding in, many wondering why a sexual assault charge wasn't laid. Police said the evidence didn't support the charge in Retea's case.
They were even texting messages to people that Rtea was drunk when they were having sex with her and she was throwing up. If that's not evidence of sexual assault, we've got a big problem.
Ratea's father says his daughter first told him 2 years ago she was sexually assaulted by up to 4 boys. Police said yesterday was the first time the teens were questioned.
To not speak to them once during a 1-year investigation is absolutely inexcusable.
Police say much is misunderstood about this case, and they needed time to build a case on facts, not theories. But at this sexual assault victim support center in Halifax, staff are hoping this opens a dialogue, and they're worried victims may not see it that way right now.
One of the concerns that has come up for many people is if police aren't going to lay sexual assault charges, then what's the point of coming forward? What's the point of telling my story?
With attention now shifting to the actions of the investigators themselves, Monday the government will announce who is conducting a review of how the prosecution and police handled the case. Carolyn Ray, CBC News, Halifax.
An oil sands company has taken reporters on a tour of a wilderness area damaged by a leak of thick, oily bitumen. It's been seeping into waterways and land since June. The company's president says it should have done more to let the public know. Briar Stewart has the story.
Thick mix of bitumen and water seeps up through the earth. And at this Canadian Natural Resources operation in northern Alberta, it's been doing it for months.
We do not want to see this damage occurring. We're very sorry it's happened. We're going to do everything we can to make sure this is cleaned up.
200 workers are now focused on that at 4 different sites throughout this remote area.
If you take a look, you can see the oily sheen on top of the water, but what you can't see is that below the surface, bitumen is seeping out from under the ground.
The company says it's contained the 1 million liters that have leaked so far. But the question is just when will it stop and how exactly did it happen? CNRL says the problem lies with a faulty well, but Alberta's energy regulator says it's still too early to say that definitively. Dozens of birds, frogs, and small mammals were killed, so now crews have set up deterrents and noise cannons to try and keep the animals away.
The spills that CNRL tells us about is there's one within what I mentioned before, the preservation area.
The spill is near traditional land used by Cold Lake First Nation, and band members say they haven't been given enough information about just how much of the environment has been impacted.
So how does it make me feel? Well, I feel cheated out of my ability to practice my way of life.
CNRL says they are talking to the First Nation community, but admit they could have done more in the beginning.
I think if you go back and look in hindsight, we weren't communicating quickly enough to the public. So it's a lesson learned for us.
Their main concern now is the cleanup. It's expected to cost about $40 million, but with bitumen still seeping out of the ground, there's no timeline for just how long it will take. Briar Stewart, CBC News, near Bonnyville, Alberta.
Air Canada's popular Aeroplan loyalty program may see some changes ahead. The company that owns Aeroplan may ditch CIBC Aero Gold Visa as a partner and close a deal to use TD Bank's Visa cards instead. The deadline for the deal comes tonight. Ron Charles reports on what that would mean for Aeroplan collectors.
Thank you.
Canadians have been using this credit card to rack up Aeroplan points for 2 decades. But next year, that will all likely change. Air Canada's popular loyalty program is planning some traveling of its own, ditching CIBC as its card partner to cross the street and sign up with TD Bank. CIBC has until midnight tonight to try to match the $100 million deal. Patrick Soika runs a website that's all about loyalty programs.
What they'll see in the future once TD comes on board is a card with probably a larger sign-up bonus, healthier earning on the Aeroplan miles side, and a partner who's really willing to push the partnership with Aeroplan.
With 4.5 million members, Aeroplan is Canada's second most popular loyalty program after Air Miles. The change in card partners would have no effect on the points people have collected in their Aeroplan accounts, which are completely separate from the credit cards. But CIBC Aero Gold customers may soon have to decide whether to switch credit cards along with Aeroplan.
I don't bank with either of those. I just happen to have a CIBC Visa, so I guess I would try to get a new Visa.
I am with TD and Scotiabank, so as long as I'm with TD and Aeroplan, I'm good. As long as I get to that trip to Jamaica, everything's fine.
The proposed change in credit card partners comes along with changes in the way points are collected and used.
They're removing the 7-year expiration policy on the miles, so now your miles will last forever as long as you earn or redeem at least 1 mile per year within the Aeroplan program.
Aimia, the company that owns Aeroplan, has set January 1st next year as the start date for both the plan changes and the proposed credit card switch. Ron Charles, CBC News, Toronto.
It's one of the biggest questions posed by kids. How are babies made? But when children ask, parents often struggle with the answer. As Patrick Fowler reports, one psychologist wants to help, and she's using modern technology to do it.
Babies come from their mother's bodies.
Shannon Fitzpatrick talks the talk. Her children have asked the question, where do babies come from? Lately, it's become harder to answer.
But as they get a bit older, the questions become more specific, and sometimes, you can have that embarrassment factor.
But now, as the saying goes, there's an app for that, designed by Jillian Roberts.
I think parents don't quite know how to broach it.
The psychologist spends her summers on PEI. She struggled with the topic with her own children. The iPad app helps parents guide their children through the talk.
I wanted to make sure that there was a way that this conversation could happen that would set children up to understand sexuality from a very positive and wholesome place.
She spent years working with children and developed the app as an alternative to the internet, where, research shows, many children go looking for answers.
It's not a safe venue, it's not a safe domain. Those keywords are going to lead children into areas of the internet that we don't want little minds going to.
The app talks about the months leading up to birth and how a baby is conceived.
Mothers and fathers have different puzzle pieces, and those different puzzle pieces come together in a special embrace.
Robert says young children don't need all the details about sex in order to understand where babies come from. Robert says the app works because children can simply click enough when they're ready to take a break from the talk.
When children have a chance to say, this is enough for today, they're in control of how they're feeling in that moment. They don't have to go further and continue in that place of embarrassment. They can say, that's all that they want right now.
Robert says the interactivity of the app keeps children engaged in ways a book doesn't. Patrick Fowler, CBC News, Charlottetown.
Very interesting solution to that problem.
Well, they have an app for everything.
They certainly do.
Before the break, let's take a look at today's market numbers. The TSX was down 10 points to 12,542. The Dow dropped 72 points to 15,425. And the Nasdaq dipped 9 points to 3660. The Canadian dollar closed at 97.14 cents US, up roughly 0.3. Gold was up $2.30 to $1,312 an ounce. And crude advanced $2.57 to $105.97 per barrel.
Well, it's one of those times where you wish you had somebody here up on the desk that knew anything about sports.
Yeah.
Not sure.
I'm the only one, I think, with the knowledge
I think you
at this
better
table.
take this
sports. Probably should. I think there was some local baseball last night.
Well, if you got all the knowledge, here you go.
Uh-oh.
That was quite the game last night, Ollie. Another close one last night as the Canadian Senior Little League Tournament came to an end at Baseball Central with the host Thunder Bay Selects taking on Cape Breton, a team they beat 8-5 in round-robin play. Matt Scooby recaps the championship game.
A huge crowd on hand at Baseball Central to take in the final of the Canadian Senior Little League Championship on a cool August evening. Select strike first, top one. Man on first, Tommy Biley lifts a fly ball to left. Tyler McKinnon can't track it down. Bryson Obey on his horse scores all the way from first. Biley ends up on second with a double, and it's 1-0 Thunder Bay. In the home half, they give it right back. Cape Breton loads the bases, and Select starter Dan Del Pagio walks Jordan Breen. That brings in a run. The Cubs would add another in the inning to take a 2-1 lead. Top three, Brendan Tianhara at the dish. He smashes the Adam McDonald offering to the corner in right. It lands just inside the foul line. Tianhara with speed ends up on third with a stand-up triple. He'd later come in to score on a sac fly that ties the game at 2. Top four, bases loaded for Tianhara, and he delivers again. Base hit to right. Kenzie Leahy has all kinds of issues with the ball in right. 2 runs come in to score, and Tyler Kitching rounds third. He also slides in safely. Thunder Bay would add another in the inning to lead 6-2. Bottom four, now 6-3. 2 on Leahy makes up for his earlier error. Laces one to left, 2 runs plate on the RBI single. Cape Breton would also add another in the inning to tie things at 6. Bottom 5 with a runner on third. The suicide squeeze is on. Austin McIsaac misses the bunt, and Travis Link is hung out to dry. Not sure if that was a miscommunication, but the Selects will take it. Top 6, Thunder Bay with 2 on. Biley added again, bloops a base hit to right. 1 run scores, then the throw from the outfield is offline. That allows Obey to also slide in safely, and the Selects are back on top. It's 8-6. In the home half, now 8-7. Runners at second and third. Jordan Sampson ground ball to short. Obey gets the out at first, but another run plates to tie the game at 8. Next batter is Breen. Grounder to second. Kitching comes home with it, but the throw is high. Leahy scores the go-ahead run as the Cubs come back and put up 3 runs in the 6th to lead 9-8. After Patrick Leahy struck out the first 2 batters in the 7th, he gets Max Ridholm to ground out to end the ballgame, and the Cape Breton Cubs are this year's Senior Little League Canadian champs. They're the first team from Nova Scotia to win the title, and after the game, comebacks were the hot topic.
Yeah, that was pretty huge. It was we were down, but we weren't out at any time. We got a team there that can come back at any given time.
You know what? We battled hard all week, even district tournament to get here, and coming this close. We're one play away, 1 run. Could have made the difference today, and but I tip my hat to them. We battled, I think 3 or 4, I think, comeback wins this week, and you know what, the kids got nothing to hang their heads about. It was a great week.
Matt Scooby, TBT Sports.
Well, the Border Cats will try for the series sweep at Subway Field tonight at 7:05 as they take on Wisconsin. Danny Shields will make his debut on the mound for the Cats. They manhandled the Chucks 16-3 last night. Snapping an 8-game slide, Dylan Becker swatted a grand slam homer. He's got 9 on the year. Their second half record, a less than impressive 7-25. Round 2 now, the PGA Championship in Rochester, New York. Australia's Adam Scott has never won this major, which is the final one of the year, but he's in position to do so, dropping the birdie putt. He had the clubhouse lead at that point at 7 under par, shooting at 268. Canada's David Hearn entered the day a shot off the lead. He would stay at 5 under par early in his round, remaining in contention as he sets up the birdie putt, but he faded late and he ended up with a 76, so he is well back at even par. 4-time champ Tiger Woods shot a 71 yesterday. He continues to struggle, missing the fairway on the par 4 second. He's now on the back 9, trailing by 9. Late in his round, Robert Garrigus had moved into a tie for the lead with Scott. He is money with this long putt. Other notables, Justin Rose is 3 shots back now. Former champ Martin Keimer trails by 5. The new leader is Jason Duffner. He has grabbed the lead at 9 under par. Former Ottawa Senators head coach Jacques Martin has been named an assistant coach with Pittsburgh, and former Maple Leafs captain Doug Gilmour traded his son Jake earlier in the week to the Niagara Ice Dogs. The Kingston Frontenac's GM says it was a family decision aimed at increasing his son's odds of making it in major junior hockey.
The way our team's set up, there wasn't a lot of room for somebody to come in this year, and there's other teams that inquired about him,
And again, I think the biggest thing is that I didn't want people saying he's on the team because of me. So again, people are speculating. I don't care. If I made the wrong decision, what wrong decision? If my boy improves and gets the ice time and has that opportunity to do what I did, then I did the right thing. So it's got nothing about me trading my son. This is giving him an opportunity to go play junior and to succeed. And it's not set that he's going to make that team either. And if he doesn't make that team, I can trade back for him in a year.
The Lake University Thunderwolves have recruited forward Kellen Ainsworth. The Thunder Bay native played college hockey last year at Lake Superior State in Michigan. At the Rogers Cup tennis tournament in Montreal, Canada's Vasek Pospisil, the first Canadian to advance to the semis since 1969. We're waiting for that footage. I don't know. Oh, here it is. And his quarterfinal opponent, Nikolai Davydenko, would pull out with bronchitis. Early in the first set, he was trailing 3-0. So the BC native will face Milos Raonic, who needed 3 sets to get by Ernest Gulbis. The first set went to a tiebreaker with the hard-serving Canadian from Thornhill taking the opening set 7-6. Gulbis bounced back to take the second 6-4. Raonic would win it 6-4 in the final set. So we've got an all-Canadian semifinal tomorrow for the first time ever at the Rogers Cup. And one of them is going to go to the final. There's a prediction. Canadian tennis has never been stronger. For the first time since 1972, 7 Canucks made it out of the opening round at the Rogers Cup in Toronto and Montreal. And with young talents like Milos Raonic and Pospisil and Eugenie Bouchard leading the way, Tennis Canada says its national program is on the rise. Peter Armstrong reports.
It's been an undeniably Canadian week for tennis. A well-timed and well-earned spotlight on Canadian players.
Yes! Pospisil!
5 Canadian men and 2 women made it to the second round of the Rogers Cup.
And he finishes it off.
Milos Raonic is now ranked number 16 in the world. Eugenie Bouchard has soared from 144th to 62nd in world rankings this season alone. The two of them leading a field of Canadians now making a splash on the international circuit.
Look at that.
It's definitely very positive to see. And it's just accumulation of work coming together for many, many of us.
The success is also the accumulation of a lot of work behind the scenes. The building of a tennis star, after all, starts early. 11-year-old Liam Drexel has been playing since he was 2.
I play like around 5 hours a day. Yeah, every day.
He's now the best under-12 player in the country, bound and determined to make it to the big leagues. He thinks he can if he can just hone some of his strengths.
I want it to be my serve, but right now it's my forehand.
Tennis Canada says it's invested millions in training, development, and infrastructure. This coach has been grooming Canadian kids for 35 years. He says the emergence of talent is the result of a focused look at the industry as a whole.
Everything is rising together, the players, the coaches, the business itself.
For years, kids like this would be looking for a chance to go and train with tennis programs in the United States. This California teenager came here to train.
You know, I've been here for about 1 month, and it's, you know, he's completely changed my game, and I came up here and I won a tournament just right off the bat.
What they want is this, a major with all the fanfare, the crowds, and a chance to play on the international stage. And this year's tournament convinced those Canadian kids even more that dream is imminently reachable. Peter Armstrong, CBC News, Toronto.
Tonight in the CFL, the top 2 teams clash in Calgary as the unbeaten Saskatchewan Roughriders will face the Stampeders. Last night in Montreal, it took only 78 seconds for the game's first touchdown. Argos quarterback Ricky Ray. It's a 19-yard dart to rookie John Childs, who makes the nice catch along the sideline. 7-0 Boltman. Later in the first off, the pitching catch. It's Ray to Childs again. The rookie's got his 3rd major of the year, 2nd of the game. It's 14-zip, 21-0 in the first for the Argos. Chad Owens takes a missed field goal. He will bob and weave his way to daylight. 102 yards later, he will be in the end zone, and you could say the route is on. Second quarter, the Double Blue continue to pile it on as 2 former Eskies hook up. It's Raider receiver Jason Barnes for the 14-yard touchdown. 31-3 Argos at the half. They romp 38-13. And the Thunder Bay North Stars will hold a tryo camp at Port Arthur Arena. That starts tomorrow night.
Yep. There you go. Looking forward to it. Teletalk tonight. George hosts Arnold. Yeah, he's got him on. Here you go.
Tonight on Global Thunder Bay, starting at 8, it's Bones. And the remains of a Marine are connected to a doomsday group. Then at 9 on Hawaii 5-0, an ex-con and art expert helps hunt down a group of art thieves. And at 10, 16 by 9 takes a closer look at current affairs and the stories that affect Canadians. Over on CKPR Thunder Bay at 8 on Mr. D, Jerry becomes the rebound guy for a broken heart. At 8:30, Ron looks at the growing friction between fact and fiction on The Ron James Show. Then at 9, the Fifth Estate reveals what makes a psychopath with Canada's most frightening criminals. And at 11:35, George talks with actor and politician Arnold Schwarzenegger. Teletalk is brought to you by Points, the traffic ticket specialists.
Well, I'm sure I'm not the only one in our city who's sick and tired of the rain. It seems like we're getting a little bit of it each and every day, but Matthew Scooby, as you were telling me during the break, that could all be in the rearview mirror.
Indeed, Ryan Benazzo, it hopefully is in the rearview mirror. We'll go with that. Sure. Now, okay. Yeah, I'll get to that in just a second. For now, again, hit a high of 20 degrees in the city today. It did feel a little bit cooler because of that wind that gusted up to 38 kilometers an hour. But let's take a look at what's happening across the country right now. Beautiful skies out west in British Columbia right now. 27 hot spot in the country right now in Prince George. Vancouver seeing 23. Edmonton and Calgary both at 21 at this point, moving into the prairies. Saskatoon at 20 degrees, Regina at 18. Beautiful skies out there right now, though, all over the place. Edmonton under a little bit of cloud cover, but not so bad. Winnipeg 17, Churchill Oh, wonderful Churchill, only at 12 degrees. I always seem to get the short end of the stick as we take a look at what's happening in southern Ontario. Toronto, 25, but it did come out today when Environment Canada, I talked about this a little bit earlier, their monthly overview. They got over 180 millimeters of rain last month, and that's the highest since 1841. That's wild. Now, don't forget that they had 100 millimeters earlier in the month in about 1 day, but that's a little bit crazy. Ottawa, Montreal, 26, Quebec City, 22, both seeing mostly sunny skies at this point as we take a look at the East Coast. New Brunswick, southwest part of the province are under a rainfall warning right now, so St. John, Fundy National Park, they have a rainfall warning at this point. Charlottetown seeing some rain as well. Halifax at 21, cloudy skies as well. St. John at 20 degrees. As we have a look at the systems map, you see that high pushing from today into tomorrow. That's what's going to keep the precipitation out of the region. And it's as we move into Sunday, that high is going to go down, and this is where you're going to see pockets of precipitation come Wednesday. But for the most part, we shouldn't see anything too bad at this point. As we have a look at the region right now, what's going to happen tonight? It's high single digits. Under seasonable right now, which is, again, not so great, but that's been the case for most of the summer so far. 9, 7, Atikokan at 8 degrees, Pickle Lake up at 10 degrees. Also, across moving into tomorrow, Greenstone, 20 degrees tomorrow. Sault Ste. Marie also at 20, Armstrong 21. But the good thing is that it's mostly clear skies, so you can't complain about that. Thunder Bay, at this hour, 20 degrees, mainly sunny skies. Again, no, that wind is going to stay up there, going to continue for the Border Cats game tonight as well. Into tonight, going to drop down, going to get quite chilly, 7 degrees this evening. But again, that wind at 27 kilometers an hour, but it's going to taper off into about the midnight hour and as we move forward. And it's a good weekend to golf, I have to say. You know, when you have a look at like that, it's going to be beautiful out there. 11 degrees at 8 o'clock in the morning, noon 21 degrees, and then moving into 4 o'clock, 23, a beautiful evening tomorrow night as well. So if you don't get a chance during the day, then tomorrow night as well. But it is going to be an UV index of 7 or high for tomorrow. So be sure to grab some sunscreen before you hit the course. Having a look at our extended forecast Saturday, Sunday, look at that beautiful weekend. 23 degrees, mostly sunny skies, partly sunny skies on Sunday, moving into Monday and the early part of next week. Delightful on Monday, if you can believe that or not, with those sunny skies. Mostly sunny and sunny skies as the week continues into 22, 21. So beautiful temperatures to come for the next 5 days. You can't complain about that, as Ryan just said with the weather. But that's all I've got for now.
Well, of course, the CLE is in town. Delightful. And it's not just rides and games. There's also a great lineup of live music. Brent Hawley has all the details for you in tonight's edition of Front Row Center.
Well, hello, this is Front Row Center. I'm Brent Hawley, letting you know what's happening in the community of Thunder Bay. And let me tell you, in case you haven't noticed, the Carnies are here. That's right, the CLE is in town. And that means, of course, you've got the rides, you've got the attractions, you've got the great food. But this year, you've got some great live performances. We've got female Aboriginal Entertainer of the Year, Cheyenne Havorka. She's going to be taking the stage tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Now, also tomorrow, CCMA award nominee Jada Dreyer. She's going to be performing at 4:15, and again on Sunday at 3. You don't want to miss her. Former Bud Country Talent Search winner Scott King and the Green Bank Band is happening on Sunday at 2. Plus, rockers Harlequin taking the stage at 9 o'clock on Sunday night. And there's going to be a hypnotist there as well, James Kellogg Jr. Be sure to check them all out at the CLE.
Front Row Center is brought to you by Teleco. We hear you at Teleco, your T-Bay-Tel authorized dealer, 601 Central Avenue.
Well, it looks like there is no longer any love for the Love Boat. We'll explain after the break. An old TV icon is officially retiring after 40 years in the business. The cruise business, that is. It looks like the Love Boat won't be making another run after all. It was known as Pacific Princess on the old TV show in the 1970s, but now the iconic ship that was used in the series is being sent off for scrap. The 42-year-old liner will be dismantled for its metal and spare parts, and not even Captain Stubing can save it. No doubt a sad day for fans of the Love Boat.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think at least they'd put it in, well, I mean, I guess what type of a museum can really house it, but yeah, you'd think that they would do something with it.
Apparently, I guess the show isn't loved the way it used to be.
I suppose not. Well, recapping our top stories, a surprise to some, apparently it is currently legal for you to have as many pets as you want in your home, but the city is currently, could be drafting up a bylaw to change that sometime soon.
And the Border Cats homestand continues at Port Arthur Stadium at 7:05 tonight. They'll be going up against the Wisconsin Woodchucks, and Matt Scooby will have the highlights for you later on.
Yeah, I'm off there in a second. Beautiful weekend ahead, also the beginning of next week, so there you go.
Thank you so much for joining us. Have a fantastic weekend. Thank you.